All right, let's just jump right in. For most of us, Wall Street can feel like this distant, super intimidating world, right? Run by financial wizards with secret formulas. But what if I told you the biggest advantage in the stock market wasn't a fancy degree or some complex algorithm, but actually something you already have? So, we're going to be diving into the big ideas from One Up on Wall Street by the absolute legend Peter Lynch. Now, this is a guy who managed the Magellan Fund and delivered, just incredible returns. But his core message, it wasn't for the pros. It was for you. It was for the everyday person. It's a feeling we all get, isn't it? That you're just the small fish swimming in a pond full of sharks. You always feel like you're one step behind, that you don't have the insider info or the powerful computers the big firms have. Well, this book looks that exact fear right in the eye. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain on this intimidation game. Because what Peter Lynch argues is that the biggest hurdles for you and me as investors, they aren't the ones Wall Street puts up. They're the ones we build inside our own heads. First up, let's bust the biggest myth of them all. The idea that you have to be some kind of math genius or an economics professor to actually win at investing. That it's this big intellectual competition where only the smartest person in the room gets to succeed. But Lynch just flips this idea completely on its head. He says, look, it's not about raw brain power. The market rewards research, it rewards understanding, and maybe most importantly, it rewards patience. It's really about knowing the story behind the company you're putting your money in. And this right here, this shows you the real reason most investors fail. It's almost never about picking the wrong company right out of the gate. No, it's about getting impatient when the company is doing just fine. It's about panic selling the second there's a dip, or chasing some hot stock tip your buddy gave you without doing any homework. Success comes from the exact opposite of all that. Patience, discipline, and really understanding the business. So the bottom line is this. Your temperament is way, way more important than your IQ. The ability to just stay calm during those wild market swings and to stick with a good company, even through its boring phases, that's a skill no university can teach you, but it's the one that's gonna make you money. Okay, so if being a genius isn't the key, then what is the regular investor's edge? This is where Lynch's whole philosophy gets really, really powerful. He argues that the pros, despite all their money and resources, they actually have a huge blind spot. We all believe this one, don't we? That the professional fund managers with their armies of analysts and their supercomputers, that they see everything, and that there's no way we can possibly compete with all those resources. But Lynch says that is fundamentally wrong. And here it is. This is his most famous piece of advice. A 10-bagger, by the way, that's just Lynch's term for an investment that goes up 10 times what you paid for it. And he says they're not found in some complex financial report, at least not at first. Nope. They're found at the mall, or at your job, or right in your own neighborhood. And this is how you use that everyday advantage. It's a really simple 3-step process. First, you notice something in your daily life. Maybe it's a restaurant that always has a line out the door, or a new piece of software that everyone at work is suddenly using. That's your signal. Then you just get curious. You ask why. Why is it so popular? And then, only then, do you start doing the research on the company behind it. Seriously, this is your secret weapon. Because think about it, by the time a company is big enough and successful enough to be on Wall Street's radar, that explosive growth phase, it might already be over. But you, as a consumer, as an observer in your own life, you can spot these trends months, sometimes even years, before the professional analysts do. Okay, so you've used your edge, you've found a promising company. Now what? Well, a huge mistake people make is treating every single stock the same, as if they're all just lottery tickets with different logos on them. And that kind of thinking, it leads to disaster. You wouldn't expect a giant, stable utility company to grow as fast as a tiny tech startup, right? So why would you use the same measuring stick to judge them? Lynch says you have to know what kind of story you're buying into. So he breaks companies down into these different categories, like the ones you see here. Are you investing in a fast grower where you've got to watch and see if its expansion can keep going? Or is it a cyclical company, like an airline or a car company that does great when the economy's good and terrible when it's bad? Knowing the category tells you what to expect and what to look out for. And this gets us to the real definition of risk. It's not a stock market crash. It's not a recession. According to Lynch, the single greatest risk you can possibly take
is putting your money into something you don't fundamentally understand. Because if you don't get it, you won't know when to buy more, when to just hold on, or why you should sell.
Which leads us to the final, and honestly, the most important battleground in investing. And it's not the market, it's not the economy, and it's definitely not the Wall Street pros. It's a lot closer to home. Just think about it for a second. We spend so much time and energy worrying about all these external events we can't control, right? Market crashes, recessions, bad news on TV. But what actually destroys wealth? What actually hurts us? It's our own internal reactions to those events. Selling everything in a panic, buying into a bubble out of pure greed, and just a simple, crippling lack of patience. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway from One Up on Wall Street. The entire point of investing. It's not about outsmarting everybody else. It's about mastering your own emotions. It's about building a solid process and then having the discipline to actually stick to it so that you don't become your own worst enemy. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What products do you absolutely love? What services make your life easier? What's that one company in your town that's always, always busy? Your unique experience isn't a disadvantage at all, it's your edge. The only real question is, are you using it?